Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Forlight Podcast, a weekly show about gaming, gaming news, and all things entertainment related. I'm your host for this evening, alongside my co-host.
Hi, I'm Ethan.
So, you may notice I said singular co-host because today is one of our special episodes that we are going to be
Mhm.
doing a game review, or in this case, two game reviews. And I am
Yes,
hyped
sir.
because I haven't played this series in probably a little under a year. A little
Mhm.
under a year? Yeah, it's probably been a little under a year since I finished the second game, and looking back on them, I wanna play them again. I wanna play them again
I
so bad.
I haven't finished the second game, but I'm like probably gauging like how much content there is left. I'm probably like an hour or 2 hours away. So at
Dude,
most.
okay, so I won't talk about the ending of the second game then, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
Okay,
don't
cool,
do
cool,
that.
cool. So, we are reviewing the Ori series, of famous Ori and the Blind Forest or Ori Will of the Wisps. So these are some amazing games, and they're Metroidvania type style. So very classic. They're not doing a whole ton different with like the stereotypical aspects of Metroidvanias, except for they add in two amazing things: the bash and Kuro's feather.
hmm
Yeah, yeah.
I like. Oh my god. Okay, so first game, what did we have? We didn't have Crow's Feather first game, right?
Until a little bit. No, you do. You until a
You
little bit
do?
through. Yeah, until a little bit through. Because it's after the first do you remember Koro originally? Um,
Oh, the fight with her,
yeah,
or
the
like fight.
original also, we want to preface there will be spoilers. If you want to play this game, and you absolutely should.
Please, if you haven't played this game before, I mean, if you don't care about the spoilers, sure, but if you haven't played this game before, it blew my mind. It's like some of the best gaming I think I've ever had. It's one of my top games.
Seriously, okay, so we were roommates in college. And we're no longer roommates anymore, sadly, because someone insta locked Aiden as his roommate. Dude,
He's just
literally
too adorable, you know? Just
like
how it goes.
first 3 seconds like dorm reservation opens, he's just like, yes, that's him.
Okay,
That's the one.
we've talked about this. I'm a planner, all right? I can't be in the dark, all right? I can't do that. But
So as I was saying, we played actually I say we, but Ethan played Ori and the Blind Forest in our dorm room
Mhm.
for the first time. And
Dude, that was such
that
a
was
memory.
that was one
It's
of the best experiences together because I could see I've already played the game before, loved it, loved every aspect of it, and seeing him go through it for the first time, he was like, "Oh, oh, oh,
I honestly
oh."
I kind of want to start there of like the aspect of going through the both of the games, which was really interesting to me because we you had a question before the podcast started of what do you like more, and we'll get to that later. But
Oh yeah,
one
we
of the
will.
things that I kind of saw was like there's a lot of sections in both of these games in which you're being chased by something huge. That's kind of like their big fantastical aspect. Or there's like a lot of water like rushing through an avalanche or something. You're trying to get away from something, and so you're running back through the level, or like I would say the level. It's like just a part of the map as things are breaking and certain things are going on. And I felt that Blind Forest, which is the first game, did this better. And I think there is argument to it where, to me, how they did it better is I didn't die as many times, which made it feel more like um what's it called? It made it feel more
Story driven, like,
or,
and gameplay
yes,
based.
yes, and it's like the difficulty of it, it felt it like it was like very like I just barely made it out. It was my first try, like this is like I could have died some other aspects, but like in the first game, it's things fall much easier. In the second game, and like or like it's easier to traverse, and like those big moments, like I can remember the water. I can't remember what that part of the level is called, but when
Oh, yeah.
you're like climbing up this tower as water is literally just coming after you, and it explodes up, and you go up into the top, and it's like this huge cutscene, and it's really
Also,
beautiful.
I
Yeah, you
wanna
go.
add, that part is called the Ginso tree, and I
Oh yeah,
loved it. Also,
honestly, it
Ethan,
was probably my favorite part of the map.
no, I fully agree. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, right. It was this fantastical moment I really do cherish, and maybe it's because I had a lot of memories towards just playing that game while you watching, and you really appreciated that, which made me appreciate the game more. But the thing about Will of the Wisps is that there's just so much. I saw myself attempting to try more in Will of the Wisps consistently through those like crazy sections. And don't get me wrong, they were beautiful, they were great, and they were a lot of fun. It's just that I was dying more, which would make me upset more, and then it was just a constant like there was things where like a certain pixel was off and Ori would not grab enough and he'd slip down, and that would happen multiple times. And because you're stressed and things are like covering the screen, it's really hard to kind of get a preemptive jump and like miss those things. And I just think honestly going from that, like it just Blind Forest just did it much better, where it felt more story driven, and it was like just one try. Like you have one try, this is what it is, and like you can care more about it. It feels more powerful, I guess. What
so
do you think?
okay, so okay, a few things really quick. I'm trying to think of, like, a good analogy, for Ori. Think of Ori as a mix between Little Nightmares and Hollow Knight.
Yeah.
Very good games separately, and when combined, they create a beautiful masterpiece, which is Ori. And see, this is the thing as well. Ori is unique in the amount of fun that I had playing it.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not the best game. Now, this is the thing. It is, I think, the first game is more bent on the puzzle, more of the, like,
Hmm.
exploring aspect. The second game is more built on fighting. And don't get me wrong, that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. It just I I felt it went in a slightly different direction. It's trying to do more. It's the second game in the series.
Right.
Obviously, it's gonna be trying to do more. Um, but the first game had a bit of a, how do I say it? Je ne sais quoi that I absolutely loved. Because
It's
it was made for it was made for the fun of playing it, rather than
yeah.
the fun of, like, completion and, like, fighting and stuff like that.
I will say, like, the second game, one of its biggest flaws was, which it's weird because it's one of my biggest pros, was actually no, I will say second game the biggest pro that they had was the side missions and all of the characters that you get to meet. There's so much more fluent characters and people like the Moki are incredible.
Oh
Like
my
the
god.
little yeah,
Yes,
I was
yes.
like every single Moki was just this little like not how would you describe it? Squirrel mouse creature.
They're kinda like a imagine like a ferret that can, like, stand on their hind legs, but,
Yeah.
like
And the thing is like I'd see one of them and I'd be like, I gotta talk to him. I gotta talk to him. And they just like they were so adorable, and they usually had like a little side mission to go across with. So that was something that was a really big plus. But their negative is that the amount of times I would die in those boss fights. I did put down, it was like Sekiro, like I put down the controller multiple times because I was just so annoyed. There's like a spider fight in the second game that is like one I was terrified in because spider
God,
gross.
the spider fight
Um,
was oh, yeah. Yep, I remember that. Yep.
it's like the entire area is terrifying, and then the fight itself is like atrocious. It is the worst thing I think I've ever seen in gaming ever. I was literally like, I'm on call with Nick, going, and he's adding these little minion things that have no use other than just trying to kill me. And it goes, isn't that what it's trying to do? I'm like, no, Nick, you're not supposed to be arguing with me right now. I'm just trying. I'm venting. Okay, be quiet. And it's like,
Dude, okay, so
yeah,
I will say the second game has harder boss fights. Yes, because
100%.
you're fighting the bosses. That's the thing. That's
Hmm.
the difference. In the first game, you're running away. there is never a single big boss fight, really.
Yeah.
Um,
Actually,
because
yeah. I
yeah,
don't think any boss bars like pop up. It's literally just running away.
it literally is just running away, and that's why I compare it to Little Nightmares. You don't fight anything in Little Nightmares at all. You don't touch anything in Little Nightmares. It's just strictly puzzle and how do I escape. And
Hmm.
that's how a lot of the levels feel in, Blind Forest, especially the trees or, like, the Ginzo tree, like the Mount Haru, like, the Sorrow's Path and stuff like that. It's
Hmm.
all about escaping a big tragedy. For example, like the Ginzo tree, you're unlocking kind of like the spirit of the tree, but that also means you're gonna get water, which is trying to drown you out of the tree.
Hmm.
So you're
And like,
trying to escape that. Also, I scared the absolute shit out of myself. I looked at myself in the recording just now, and I thought I saw a person back there, and I nearly shot myself, like, fully on camera. Yep.
Leighton, that's why Leighton's not on the podcast. He's hiding. Um,
Holy shit. Okay, sorry.
but yeah,
Continue.
you are you good?
I'm gonna keep it real. My heart is racing so bad right now. That was like the Conjuring 2 jump scare with the nun. Like, I'm not kidding you right now. That shit's bumping.
Oh my god. I like the thing about Ori is that like one, it's beautiful. That was like the main takeaway. Is like I never really liked Hollow Knight, and I haven't really got into Hollow Knight because Hollow Knight has such a specific art style for that main portion that it's kind of hard to get past. At least for me. And I know other people completely will disagree with me, and that's okay. But that's it's just my personal opinion.
Like, for me, I
And
think the art is beautiful and amazing, but the Ori art, 20 times better.
it is really like they play with colors so well, and the second game did it beautifully. It runs so well on my Xbox. It looks magnificent. It's friggin' awesome. Um, but like the first game really had a difference where it felt escapey. And the second game, I feel like a badass. I'm jumping in the air doing combos and then unlocking like a sentry and doing more combos. And it feels great once you actually get the thing to go by. But it also feels very Sekiro in the sense of like you have to do it over again, do it over again, do it over again until you find out what the niche is. What move can you exploit to make it go faster, and you have to avoid. And I don't really like that about games. I don't like um, playing it over again. Elden Ring was a niche game. Sekiro was a niche game for me, and I mean I'll do them. I'll play them because I enjoy them. But like at the end of the day, it makes me more mad than I like them. And typically, like weeks after I play the game, I'm actually pissed off because of just how constant this like. No, you're bad. You're bad.
So
You're bad.
this is one of the biggest differences between you and me as players. Um, I despise that feeling. That is a feeling that I avoid at all costs, that anger. And that's
Yeah.
why I generally navigate towards platformers, I think, more than anything. And here's an example of that. Ori and the Blind Forest, heavily platformer. It makes you feel good when you do a difficult section.
Oh, and the bash, like the stuff that they do with that stuff, like the bash is one of the greatest things. Did they have the hook like that they have in the second game, or is that not?
Nope.
Because
Nope.
the hook also plays really well.
The hook is good.
Um,
Yeah.
but the first game, the basically okay, so just to explain, the bash is this move that Ori can do on basically any enemy once they've released like a projectile, and even sometimes when they're just moving on the ground, where you go up and you can like slow-mo and propel off that person. So it's just a propulsion thing. And it plays into the gameplay so well. Um
It is without a doubt one of the aspects that make it the most unique. I would argue it is the number one thing.
yeah. I think Yeah, no, it's like that and the I think the fantastical moments of like just being running away from just giant things that kind of make it stand out.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. And you know that is a linking point between both games. The big things. In the first game, you don't fight the big things. In the second game, you absolutely do, and it kinda
Mhm.
drives you crazy. Um,
Oh yeah. And like that, like going off the bash, just because we're kind of on that, the bash and this hook thing where there's like these blue flowers, and or you just can tell it's like in any video game when like in Tomb Raider there's like white chalk on things that you can climb, and so it stands out and you can climb on it. Same thing in Ori. It's this really like neon blue stuff that you can see, you can grapple onto, and I felt that it was a lot of fun, but another reason why those like fantastical moments that I was talking about before, like why I was dying so much, is because it's in between the left bumper and the right bumper. And when you're really stressed out, you're like, okay, there's a section where you're bashing off of things, and then it immediately swaps to the now you're hooking on things, and now you're bashing and you're hooking, and then it gets confusing. And I multiple times would end up trying to press LB when I was supposed to be hooking, or like vice versa, trying to do the other thing when I was supposed to do something, and it would make me rage like so hard. I was just, and it would ruin that section almost sometimes because of
you
right
know,
after.
I fully agree, and I do like the changes with gravity, that the hook does, right?
Hmm.
It's neat stuff. However, I think once again, the first game did this better. The
Hmm.
gravity sections in the first game were gorgeous gameplay wise. Um, I mean, there were ways you could exploit it, of course, absolutely, as I did many a time. But it was more so of a challenge. It made it more challenging, and not in a bad way. It was perfectly designed levels that allowed you to go back and forth between, you hooked upside down when you walk on a wall, or and rather than like you jump up and you use the hook ability to do it in the second game. Um,
Hmm.
because it's all involved with like this orb that kind of like manipulates gravity in the first game and stuff. It's really neat stuff, but it makes it feel more genuine too. Uh, Now, this isn't to say the world in Ori isn't fleshed out. In Blind Forest isn't fleshed out. The world is fleshed out without having characters, which is
Hmm.
amazing. You
Yeah,
wanna
there's
talk
a
about that a
lot
little bit?
of, yeah, I haven't played Blind Forest in a bit. I can't exactly remember what characters they do have. I know there is characters, like there is things you can interact with, but like actually big positive the second game, Ku, which is the small god, what is owl, the small owl that you adopt at the end of the first game. Spoilers, just I don't know why I said spoilers, or I said spoilers, but anyways, um that character's like her just being is great. She's really great to interact with. Her sections are awesome. And then the toad, Qualock or something like that,
Oh, yeah.
was one of the most devastating things to me because he is such a lovable
Oh,
character.
it was
Because he's,
sad. It was sad, yeah.
dude, I was like, and that's the thing is they do it multiple times. Where like they almost kill off Ku. I'm assuming he's not dead. Like she's not dead because she's like wrapped up in stuff. And like I was like, this kind of seems a little like they wouldn't have her out or something. She's restoring light or whatever. But like in Qualock's thing, like that monster there's a monster that's in a well that you restore water to the world. And that same monster like goes off and like fucks off. You don't kill it, so it's like, oh, that's gonna come back later, and then it like goes inside the toad and like warps itself into the toad and then ends up killing Quolock. And it's like I'm not even joking. I'm with Nick, and it was like again like Nick hears a lot of my gaming experiences because we're in the same party. But I'm raging so hard. I'm like, this fight sucks, and the fight was pretty bad. It was not my favorite. But then right after is when he dies, and I was literally like, I'm on mic, and I just go, "Well, now I'm just sad. This is bad. Like this is just sad, man." And it's a great moment, but it was like it again. It got super bummed out because of the boss fight that just sucked.
So,
Uh,
now I do have a question. Was it you were sad because the boss fight was sad, or were you sad because the boss fight was just meh?
I was sad because the boss or Qualock dies. I
Yes,
wasn't
yes,
like
yes.
at the end of the day, like it's weird because in all of these boss fights and how Ori does it is they play off the new move that you gain. There's a new move like whether it's in a lot of these one it's like a dash mechanic in whatever environment you're in. So like in the water area, you're dashing through water, which means you can dash out of water and kind of mess around with that. In the sand area, you can dash through sand, and it's like they kind of did that a little bit too much, but it still was fun to me. I like going through multiple sections and just weaving my way through really fast. But like this boss fight, they mess with that where it's like the bottom half is covered in water and you have to dash up, start hitting, go down, dash up. And like it was okay, but I died so many times and it started too as like the 10th, 11th time I was like, mm-mm, we don't like this no more. Like let's get this over with. And it
Now
was gratifying when I killed him, but like
now, how does this compare to Souls games with the dying? Because I would say, you don't die as much as Souls games, but you die a lot in these games, like,
I
consistently.
I think like the dying aspect of Souls games is like this one. It at first glance, at least in the second game, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a very you're gonna die a lot. Um, and so that's why it kind of throws you off. Is like you're ready for a sort of easy experience, but a fun experience at that, and then you're brought with like almost Souls like difficulty, and I'm like freaking the hell out like I normally would. In Souls, it's like you've signed up for it. You know that you're gonna die, so it's like you know that it's gonna be difficult, and you chose this. So like, if you rage to the world of like, why is this so difficult? It's like, homie, it's literally written in the title. Like you know this, and I
Dude,
think that's what
it's
kind of took
in the
away from Ori.
contract when you signed it. Yeah, it's in the contract.
Yeah, but it like it really does. Like when a game presents itself, especially in the first one, as not being as difficult, and it wasn't as difficult. It was just really fun and entertaining. And then in the second one, it's just boom, 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 boom. Like I had a lot of rage about it. It really takes away from the experience, and that's just I don't even know how to explain it. I think that's it. Yeah, but like
Yeah, that's just on facts, right? That's just on facts. Um,
I think like just Souls like it makes more sense. You know what you're getting into. That's what I'll say.
so I wanna talk about the comparison between the 2 games now. Um,
Okay.
Mechanic-wise, what do you think is better?
I'm gonna say two for a reason. Two because they just added more. Whether or not, well, it's hard though. It's difficult because it is those sections that kind of messed me up where I was like I didn't know what I was pressing. But like in the first game, you have that sentry that like you can press X and it just and it like attacks things. Um, I don't know why I made like the vocal noises for that. No one needed it, but it's okay. Uh, but like in
Well,
the
I
second
mean,
game,
and that is a big change between the 2 games.
oh yeah,
It's the fighting styles. Like, that is the biggest change, I'd say.
and we can go into that. Like the first game, you basically have this orb that you can press X on, and it attacks the nearest enemy. It fires like a rocket at it almost. Um, in the second game, you have this like light blade that comes out of his arm, and so as you would expect, it's a lot of like you have to get up close and personal, and you're doing like heavy attacks, and then you're backing off, and you're going and you're doing, and it's more melee. The first game was much, I think, honestly, easier because of that sentry mode. You could get a reasonable distance away and just like kind of spam, um, which some people would say is not as fun, but that's beside the point. I think two just had more um, uh, what's that word? Ro- Variability? No, that's not the word. Variability? Variety? Variety,
Variety?
but like the yeah, I think it's
Variability.
just variety. Yeah. Variability. There you go. Thanks,
Bro, you
David.
already said that.
Um
You said that already.
oh, wait, actually. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Mubby. Mubby. Anyways. But like there was just like you had sentry mode, you had the oh, what was that thing? You can fire off a projectile and bash off that projectile yourself, which got into a lot of exploitation that I was doing. Like I was skipping sections I probably shouldn't have, and it was really funny because I had that ability. Um but yeah, no, it's two. What do you think? What do you think?
So I will say, mechanic wise, I gotta give it to two. It makes it more robust. Like the
Mm,
original game, it hit it in a home run with the mechanics through and through. Like every mechanic in the first game was 100% needed and enjoyable. Um, in the second game, not every mechanic was enjoyable, but it added enough that were enjoyable that it made it feel like an addition. So you had the amazingness
mhm.
of the first game with the pretty good of the second game all wrapped together.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
agree.
gonna give it to mechanic wise, I'm gonna give it to the second game.
What I have a question for you. What do you think is the best in terms of locations,
In
game
which
wise?
oh, okay. Um
Like places that you would
oh,
go to, puzzles that you go through. Like, what game did it better? Do you think?
okay. Are we talking about puzzles or like locations here?
Both. You can answer both if it's
Okay,
a two-parter.
okay. So for well, I think both of them have the same answer. The original game was better with that. With both of them. I enjoyed the locations in the second game. Lord, were they gorgeous. They were more beautiful than the first game, in my opinion. Um, except for one part. The Ginso tree will always have me, and it will
Oh yeah.
always have my heart. Because it was one of those gaming experiences when you play it and you are just enamored fully through and through.
No, I remember being in the I don't know if you're in the room that day. I think you might have left, and I sent a video to you and was like, but like legit, the entire section, my mouth is just as I'm going through, like jumping up in like so much intensity, and it's so much fun. But yeah.
Yeah, it's like when I watched the movie the other day, Asteroid City, and there was just this one scene, and the movie's, bizarre out of nowhere, and then it just for some reason, it breaks the fourth wall really hard, and all the characters all the characters in this giant room turn in just randomly, turn to the viewer and go, "You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep."
Bro, that's terrifying. That's actually fucking terrifying.
And
It's like,
this was in the middle of the theater on opening night, and I was like, "What is
am
happening?
I
What is
tripping? What is
happening?"
going on?
I caught myself looking over to Carrie and going, "What?" Like, it was one of those movie experiences I will never forget. It was like Night of the Living Dead, but for our generation. That was so crazy. It was so good.
Oh my
Um,
god.
because I did
I
not
want to go
expect it.
see it, honestly.
And it's the same way with the Ginso tree. I will not forget that gaming experience because of
Uh-huh.
how impactful it was. And Lord help me, yeah, it was a little annoying. It was frustrating as all hell at some parts, but I loved it. But I thought it was
Oh yeah.
amazing.
I think like environment wise, two expanded on its graphics, but one just had it so clustered in a way that was just so like beautifully made. Um, and like I think honestly, puzzle aspect, I think also the one takes it. I like agree with you. There is one puzzle, the water wheel in the second game, where you learn the grapple ability, and you basically you go around this room as it slowly changes and allows you to get out, and you have to literally like use the you just have to go back through the puzzle like 4 or 5 times, in a different variant of the puzzle because you
It's
like
actually
turn a
really
lever or
sick.
something. It is a
Oh
really
yeah.
cool, and I, like that was probably one of the standout to me. Um, but yeah.
Also,
Um,
I will say something I love about the games is how they pace the progression. In
oh
let's
yeah.
say Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight is not it's not expressed where like the barriers are. Like at one point you're going to explore through an entire area in like the bottom left of the map and you just see a crystal there and you're like, "Oh, can't do anything here." But then you tie it to one part of the map where you can unlock an ability and then you can go back and use that ability. It makes it a lot more complicated. But in Ori, it literally has walls. you can't pass through an area if you haven't gotten the keys. So,
Hmm.
and I honestly
And
like that.
that's a yeah, it's a very neat way of just, and it kind of curves the game, as you said. It just makes it so that you're not off in Neverland doing something you shouldn't be. And then you realize, actually, that's a thing. The second game, I got you can get all the way to the end of the desert section, which is like the end of like that area where you get like the heart of the wisp or something. And then it literally goes, um, so you don't have all the wisps right now, so I'll go get them. And I was like, what? I thought you can just go anywhere. What the hell? And so I like went through this entire area just to be told I had to go somewhere else, and I was kind of pissed. Just a
Yeah,
little. Just a tiny
yeah,
bit.
that's totally frustrating in some parts because that's not how the game is normally. In Hollow
Hmm.
Knight, there is a pizzazz to that kind of thing. Like it is purely an exploring game in Hollow Knight, basically. Um,
Yeah.
but in Ori, it's exploring, but it's also story progression, and it's also like trying to progress with boss fights and all sorts of different things. It mixes in a lot. Now, this is one thing I want to talk about as well. I don't think that the puzzles were as good because they're trying to add in a little too much. The first
Hmm.
game was so good because it just basically had Bash and Furrow's Feather. That was like
They really
basically it.
focused in on those two mechanics, and I think that's what changed the game, at least.
Yeah, and I mean the wall climb is very important as in basically every Metroidvania, but like yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Now let's talk about visuals. I'm gonna give it to game 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it
I
to two as well.
I think visually it's a more beautiful game. I think I think honestly the characters are more visually appealing, like the sprites themselves. Uh, the environment was more visually appealing, and uh, I think like the abilities I'd say are more visually appealing too. But I might have to give it to Ori 1 on that one just because of the, like, spirit flame. That's the, like, thing Ethan was talking about,
Yeah. The
um
sound effects.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. Ethan, what do you think?
I think the visuals. I agree with you. I think second did it well. Um, but I don't know. I like. Well, we come down to rating it, which we might be able to do in a little bit because we're kind of closing in on our 40
Yeah,
minutes.
we're closing in on time, we're
Um,
closing in on time. But,
but
let's finish this up, and then we'll probably do our overall rating, I
yeah,
think.
I think when it comes down to giving it to the both of them, it it's just there's like some element of the first game that just held up, and it really does. It's like it holds a part of me that like I think maybe it was because I just didn't expect it. I think going into it I had a lot of doubt. I was like, this is a shitty game, David. I don't know why David's making me play this game. This game sucks. And then I started playing. I was like, oh my god, it's so good. Oh my god. And then I get to the second game, and it's still the same thing. I'm really enjoying it. I'm going to finish it 100%. Um, but like going from the first game, it was like there's the feel to it, and then second game, it's like, holy crap, this looks so good. But it feels like almost there's areas that are like kind of like too much in your face. I don't know.
No, I agree. No, I absolutely agree. Also, you gotta finish this game, and you gotta talk about it on the next podcast because, yeah. Uh-huh, you're
I
gonna
will. I
you
will.
mhm. For those who have already played it, you know what I'm talking about, but, like, I'm
I'm excited.
expecting to
I'm
see
excited.
I'm expecting to see Ethan's, like, text pop up on my screen, like, middle of the week and be him just be freaking out, so, um, uh, so I think that hmm, how should I put this? I'm trying to think about ratings. So, do we have to rate by, like, integers of 5? Because I wanna get even more precise now because this game requires it.
This guy.
This
I
game requires it.
I think you can do whatever you want. I have my ratings. I know I'm gonna like.
Okay, let's start
Uh,
with you then. Let's start with you,
I
and
think
I
I
wanna
give
hear your
Ori.
reasoning.
Okay, I give Ori. Hmm,
Well, wait, split it into
I
the 2 games. Split it into the 2 games.
yeah. I give Ori Blind Forest a 10 out of 10. Um, Mainly because I'm gonna probably end up putting it at, like, either top 4 or top 3 of one of my favorite games of all time. Which people will disagree with, but that's okay. Um, but like, I don't really give out 10 out of 10s, like, if I'm thinking about games, but like, there's nothing that I look back and I go, oh, eh, that was weird. That was, and like, even it's just how they made it. Like, it's a beautiful game. It's a great game. Maybe visually you can up it, but like for its time, it was great. Um, and then tentatively, yes,
Are you a Renaissance salesman now?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, 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 yes. Um, Ori, Will of the Wisps, I think I'm gonna give an 8 out of 10 so far. The ending could probably bump it up to a 9 if they kind of crush it, but I'm gonna keep it as an 8 just for certain gameplay moments and certain things like that. That kind of just change
So
stuff.
I am loving the direction you're going in, Ethan. So I'm gonna go ahead. See, this is the thing. I'm always hesitant about giving 10 out of 10s. Now that I'm thinking about it, I really think Ori deserves it. I think it's up there with the 10 out of 10s. Like, truthfully. I'm gonna go
Heck
ahead.
yeah.
Okay, so Blind Forest gets a 10
Heck
out of 10 in my
yeah.
opinion. It is just I don't think I've played a game in a long time that has given me that much, like, enjoyment. I'm, like, 100%
Yeah.
serious. Like, I 100% did Hollow Knight, and I think no. I think I'm gonna say it. I think I preferred Ori more than Hollow Knight, and I love Hollow Knight. I think Hollow Knight is a godsend of a game,
Oh
and
my
I think
god.
okay, let me rephrase. I think Hollow Knight is a better game than Ori. I think I enjoyed Ori more, though. That's the thing. So,
I
Hollow Knight,
understand. I understand.
it's like when you read a great piece of literature, and you're just like, "Yeah, that was good. Now I'm gonna go read Harry Potter over." Yeah, so it's they're
Yeah.
different
Yeah,
types of
no, I
things.
get that.
Okay, so Hollow Knight, I'd say, is a
It's
better
like
game still, but Ori is a 10 out of 10. I had more fun playing Ori.
that's good.
Okay,
I
so
like that analogy, by the way. It's like reading William Shakespeare and then going to like Ready Player One. And it's like
yeah.
I'm gonna enjoy one of them more, but one of them is better. Like that
Yeah,
actually
like,
that's actually
I
really
can
fun.
I can 100% tell you that Romeo and Juliet is a better story than Ready Player One. I enjoy Ready Player One more. Like,
Oh my god. All right,
so
so Will of the Wisps.
for Will of the Wisp, it is a fantastic game. Still play it if you like the Ori series, 100%. With that said, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Um, and
Okay.
Ethan, I think you're gonna like the ending, and I think it's gonna bring it up for you. Maybe by half a point, maybe by a whole point, but we'll see. But as it stands right now, I'm gonna give it a 9.0. And then
All right.
so so I think the Forlight rating here is gonna be a 10 out of 10 for Ori and the Blind Forest. Like the legitimate first 10 out of 10 we've given out on this podcast. And then Will of the
Heck
Wisp
yeah.
is gonna be an 8.5, averaging out our ratings. So in conclusion, goddamn play Ori and the Blind Forest. It is
Oh
so
yeah.
good. And then you're gonna want to play Will of the Wisp after you play the first one. That's all I'm saying.
I like I 100% agree. I think if you start with the first game, definitely finish off the second game because it's fantastic. And I think it's on Game Pass, right? Both of them?
Yeah, I think they're both on Game Pass.
I think. Yeah.
I think so.
So it's an easy cop if you guys have Game Pass. So
Seriously, it is so good. Okay, we're gonna wrap up here with some nerdy news real quick. I'm bringing to the table. I'm just gonna say, dude, I talked about this last episode. I talked about it probably the episode before. Season 11 of Futurama is coming out. Watch it, please, if you're a Futurama fan.
I've
I know
I've never
it's
seen
new.
Futurama.
and that is an absolute tragedy of all things good and holy. Um,
Okay, I'm gonna out you right now. You like Big Mouth, so I don't want to hear it. That's right. That's right. Sit in your place. Sit in your place. Boom.
I don't think you realize how much TV I watch. Well, watch. I basically constantly need something playing in my headphones or else I go insane. So
I agree. Same.
so I have so many like legitimately, I started Friends 3 weeks ago and I'm on season 9. Um
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I I have a crazy amount of content blasting at my face at all times because my brain gets bored without it. And it's not that I have a short attention span, not at all. It's just it's boring otherwise.
True. Yeah.
Um,
I think
yeah, I
honestly,
will say though, I will say though, even if I have watched shitty TV shows, I have pretty damn good taste in TV. You can fight the shit out of me, Ethan. I will beat the shit out of you. Um,
Big Mouth. Big Mouth. Just saying.
the
Anyway,
Big Mouth is a 6 out of 10.
strange. I don't think that's true, but that's okay. At least in your eyes,
What do you
I
th
don't think that's true.
God,
But that's okay.
I can't
Anyways,
stand
our
you.
next
I
nerdy
can't
news,
stand you.
Xbox won the I don't know if we talked about this last podcast, but Xbox won their FTC suing thing, whatever the hell.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and they are now in full control of Activision Blizzard, and a couple other like big titans. But honestly, from what we saw out of that press conference and stuff, and like some of in the court proceedings, like they kind of brought the heat. Phil Spencer like brought some heat on Sony and was like, "Homie, like you're gonna come after me. Like I'm gonna throw shade." And he undisclosed a lot of like their shady dealings and stuff like that. Um,
Mhm.
and was kind of a boss bitch. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Like that's just me. That's just me. Um, but yeah, I think honestly it's a positive, and I think that people should stop kind of looking at like mergers at like as bad things necessarily. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's always a thing to look at like monopolies and be like sort of concerned if something like that's happening, but in circumstances like Activision Blizzard, like they needed Xbox to step in because the company is not good. They have had a lot of drama when it comes to the things that they've been doing, and Xbox has shown clear initiative in wrapping that shit up and being like, no, we are getting this horse controlled. And like, I don't
Absolutely.
know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think it's just
And, you
a
know,
thing that people shouldn't
there's
be too
sketchy
afraid about.
stuff there's sketchy stuff all through the industry, and honestly, this is kinda
Hmm.
why we made the podcast is because we wanna talk about that stuff. We want it to be out in the open. Like, that
Hmm.
stuff shouldn't be hidden away, and it should be accessible to the listener and to the viewer. It should be
Yeah.
accessible to people who aren't seeking it out themselves. And a game that you might not have been seeking out that was released just a little bit ago is the sequel to an amazing indie game called Oxenfree. Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals released I believe yesterday. Amazing game. The original game is
I have
on
never
sale for
heard of it.
$2 right now. The original game is on sale for $2 right now. It's fantastic. If you don't believe me, Metacritic has rated it like a 94. Um, very good game. Absolutely should check out, and it's from an indie creator as well. So go ahead and check that out. And Lost Signals, I haven't had a chance to play it, but it's looking pretty tasty so far. So that's something I was excited about to see being released. It's really neat.
I'll have to check it out.
Also,
It sounds interesting.
Dave, has officially I mean, it has for a while. Dave the Diver has topped the indie, purchases for, new releases in Steam for, I think something like 3 weeks running. Um,
Holy cow.
yeah, it's good. It's good, dude. Like,
It's good.
I would be
Oh my
surprised if it
god.
didn't take home at least a few awards this year. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, okay.
I'm excited. I'm excited for Game of the Year, honestly. That's gonna be
Dude,
great.
this game of the year is going to be insane. Last year, it
It's gonna
was
be
clear
awesome.
cut between like 2 games. This year, it has so many things in the air.
There's a
Legitimately,
lot of potential.
when you think
It's
back to it,
crazy.
literally, Hogwarts Legacy was released this year. What? What?
Blows my mind.
Absolutely
Jedi
crazy.
Survivor kind of popped back into
Survivor!
my head. Yeah. I was like, "Wait, that came out, like,
Oh
literally,
my
like, 2 or 3
god,
months ago." It's crazy.
that's insane. Dude, there have been banger after banger this year, and we're only gonna see more coming out. So, guys, get hyped for the Game of the Year review. But for now, we are wrapping up the episode, and we want to say, Jess, we love you. We thank you for listening or watching. If you have indeed lasted this far, we appreciate everything you do, and we hope you're enjoying the shorter form episodes. And adios.